welcome back to a new video. So happy to have you here with me, and I hope you are having the best week. I certainly am, because lilacs are blooming here, and I kind of consider lilacs to be my special birthday month flower. My birthday just happened early this month, and they tend to bloom at least here around the end of April. Lilacs are one of the many special treats that the previous owners left for us, and I think these lilacs were probably planted around the original build date of the home. We've always kind of thought that this home was self-built by the original owner. It's a little quirky, but in the best way possible. And these lilacs, we have 3 lining our deck, and they're full grown to maturity. So they stand at about 12 feet tall. They're really large and just gorgeous. And the first year that we moved in, I had never seen a lilac bush before. I wasn't really acquainted with the flowers. So I remember coming out around obviously this time in spring and seeing the gorgeous purple flowers and just being blown away and learning about them, and now they have slowly morphed into one of my absolute favorite flowers. The downside to them is that they only bloom once a year, and feels like the blooms come and go really fast, so you have to kind of make the most of the season when they roll around. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video today. This video is going to be completely dedicated to lilac season and my newly found love for them. And I did want to harvest some to do a couple of recipes. I spent a little bit of time last night browsing around the internet, and I found a whole bunch of cool recipes to try. There were syrups and sugars, and actually the one that I'm most interested in, I think we're definitely going to do, is a flourless cake. I do want to try to make a lilac simple syrup as well, just because, as the name suggests, it's supposedly really simple to make. I've never tried to make one before, so it'll be my first time doing it on camera with you guys. And one note additionally on the lilac bushes. A couple of days ago, I did treat myself to 2 new bushes that live in my critter fence now, and those are the Miss Kim variety. So these, I believe, grow to the full 8 to 12 feet height and spread similarly as well. I'm still not 100% clear if lilacs are deer resistant or if they just tend to generally avoid them. I think from my reading, they seem to not go for them first. I've noticed that the deer on this property, I've mentioned before, they're really active here, so I would think that if they liked lilac, they would be going after it. But then again, as I mentioned, these are up against our deck, and so maybe that's close enough to the house that they're not comfortable getting that close. So I did plant those 2 new ones that I mentioned in the critter fence area, just to kind of not take any risks. The one that's in the front of the gate, though, will be the test, because obviously they can get to that. So if they like it, they'll eat it. But so far, I have seen the lilac starting to bloom there. So I think we're safe, but you never really 100% know with these deer, so I'll have to report back. Let me know in the comments if you have deer that wander through your garden, what your experience has been with lilacs. Okay, so before we go and gather some lilac together, I did want to share a couple of updates with you. And one of those is a very positive update about the soil beds in the critter fence. And I am happy to say that I'm finally making a dent in filling them up with the new soil that we got delivered. They're still barely filled up, but I think we're getting somewhere. It's just going to take me a while because it's a lot of physical labor. I'm really looking forward to that being completed so that I can finally grow something. I think realistically, it's not going to be done probably for at least several more weeks, and that's kind of being optimistic for how much work it really is. But at least I know it's going to get done at some point this year. I'm just holding on to the positive momentum and focusing on the progress. Another update I have for you guys is some progress on my herb bed coming back to life and filling out. And a lot of my herbs have actually come back and they're doing great. The lemon balm does amazing here, better than any of the other herbs so far that I've grown. It's so hardy and it flourishes, and it's just amazing. The fragrance is just so gorgeous. If you guys are a fan of lemon balm, let me know. Part of the reason I wanted to grow it, aside from the gorgeous fragrance, is a naturopath of mine in California years ago prescribed me with a tincture of lemon balm for anxiety, and I loved it. It worked really well. It's very calming. I'm really looking forward to doing some lemon balm teas and some other recipes. I've also got some thyme, some oregano, some lavender. The lavender struggles a little bit because the soil composition of that bed isn't very sandy, and I know it likes well-draining soil, so I'm not really surprised there, and long-term I should probably move it out of there. The mint that I have growing in the 2 pots here in the greenhouse is also slowly starting to creep its way back up. I was pretty neglectful to it over the winter. I did well on the first half of the winter and then kind of burned out the later half and didn't think it was going to survive. But with a little bit of watering, it is starting to creep back up, so I'm really curious to see if it's going to fully come back and flourish. I know the mint last year did amazingly, and it was such low maintenance, low effort, and it put out so much. So highly recommend, if you guys are new to growing herbs or want to dip your toes into it, try out mint in a pot. I wouldn't recommend putting it in a bed because it is a bit invasive and it will take over just like oregano will. But in pots, it's easily contained and it does excellently. All right, and that was really all of the updates I wanted to share with you guys today. I hope you all are doing so well. And once again, thank you so much for being here with me. And let's go forage some lilacs together. Wanted to show you guys my lemon balm before we go to the lilacs, and just look how big it is and look how well it's doing. Alright, so we are back inside, and apologies about the weird angle. I have you guys propped up on a candle right now while we do this, and we have a whole basket of lilac here that we gathered together. And as you can see, the lilacs are unfortunately already starting to wilt. Their leaves are curling up a bit, so next step is to get them into some water. So I am a big rose and peony and dahlia fan, but lately I think lilacs have kind of stole the show for me. Just look at how beautiful this shade of lavender pinky purple is. Okay, so I went ahead and put the lilacs in some water and hopefully they perk up just a little bit. You can see that they look a little bit exhausted from the heat. They get dried out pretty quick. I initially was gonna use these for some recipes, but looking at how gorgeous they look in the vases, I just cannot bring myself to remove them. It's time to do a little bit of baking. So I mentioned earlier that I wanted to create a lilac flavored cake, and I had a particular recipe in mind, which I found on the internet, and it is by Simply Recipes, and it's the flourless lemon almond cake. Because this cake is technically lemon and not lilac flavored, I am going to add in the lilac flavor using that simple syrup that I created earlier and brush this onto the cake for some flavor. And I've got my gorgeous mixing bowl by Farmhouse Pottery that I love so much. And for the first step, you need 4 eggs separated, which I did off camera, and I have the yolks right here, a 1/4 cup of sugar, and we need to zest a lemon. So for the lemon zest, it says we need about 2 tablespoons. I'm using this handy 2 tablespoon measuring spoon that I have, and let's go ahead and zest. Okay, so now for the next step, the recipe says we need to combine the dry ingredients, and we will be combining 1.5 cups of almond flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom. All right, and now we'll combine the 2 mixtures together. And it says the consistency should resemble a thick paste. All right, I would definitely say that we did in fact achieve a thick paste. Okay, next we want to whip the egg white starting on low speed and then gradually increasing to form soft peaks. It says when bubbles start to form, we're then going to add a pinch of salt and a teaspoon of vinegar, which I guess will add better structure. recipe says that as the egg whites begin to increase in volume, you do want to sprinkle in a little bit at a time the remaining 1/4 cup of sugar and continue to beat the egg whites until soft peaks form. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that consistency. I think we got there for the most part. It has a nice whipped, soft kind of texture to it, and I just have to be careful of the battery life on my hand mixer. It is flashing red at me. So the last step is to fold in this creamy whipped mixture into our thick paste cake batter that we created. And the recipe does say to fold in only about 1/3 at a time. So the batter is all mixed up, and now we will pop it into this. I did go ahead and grease this with some shortening, and it is a stainless steel springform pan, and we want to bake the cake at 350 for about 30 minutes until it's golden brown. Okay, so the cake is out of the oven and it's cooled down, and for the next step, I'm going to take the lilac simple syrup that we created together, and just to infuse the cake with a little bit of lilac, brush it onto the cake and let it soak in. And now I'll just apply some powdered sugar. Definitely applied a little bit more than I meant to. I think I got to practice with that sifter, but I want to now decorate it with some lilac blossoms, and let's go find some. right, so now I'm gonna go give these flowers a quick rinse and then we'll come back and decorate. Okay, so we've given them a nice rinse and I've pulled most of the green foliage off. I want to decorate the top of the cake with bloomed lilac flowers, and then we're going to place the ones that haven't bloomed yet on top as a decoration. All right, so that is the finished decorated cake.